A fugue subject enters alone. A second voice answers. A third. A fourth, each independent yet locked in mathematical precision. Then, mid-phrase, the music stops. Johann Sebastian Bach died before finishing it. He had written over 1,000 works, raised 20 children, and served relentless posts in Leipzig. Yet within a generation, his manuscripts were scattered and nearly lost. It took a 20-year-old Mendelssohn 79 years later to resurrect what might be the most complete body of music any composer ever produced. So, how did a church musician in 18th century Germany build the structural foundation that Mozart, Beethoven, and every generation since has depended on? The parish register at St. Georgenkirche records the baptism of Johann Sebastian Bach, son of the city's municipal musician. In this small Thuringian town, church bells and organ pipes shaped his first memories. But by age 10, both parents were gone. The orphaned boy crossed the hills to Ohrdruf, where his older brother, Johann Christoph, a working organist, took him in. Days blurred into choir rehearsals and organ lessons. Bach's name appeared in the town's records as a choir boy, his routine anchored by Lutheran liturgy and the steady discipline of daily music. At 17, a new entry in the Arnstadt City Council's ledger, Bach appointed organist of the Neue Kirche with a salary of 50 thalers and a house. The job demanded Sundays, feast days, funerals, and the relentless upkeep of the church organ. Within 2 years, council minutes show complaints over Bach's overtime and his unauthorized trip to hear Dietrich Buxtehude in Lauenburg, a journey that stretched the boundaries of his contract and his ambition. The council's patience wore thin, but Bach's reputation for technical brilliance was already growing. Mühlhausen, 1707. A fresh contract, this time at Divi Blasi Church. 28 thalers a month, a new house, and the right to direct the choir boys. Here, Bach's music began to echo beyond the church walls. But less than a year later, council records show a resignation. Disputes over organ renovations and musical priorities sent him searching for new ground. Weimar, 1708. The court of the Margrave welcomed Bach as organist, offering 150 thalers and a residence. 4 years later, a court decree promoted him to Concertmeister, with a stipend for composing and directing monthly cantata cycles. His letter to the Margrave, still preserved in the archives, requests more funds for organ building, a glimpse of the practical demands behind the music. The Weimar years saw a surge in output, but also growing tension as Bach's ambitions pressed against court routines. Cothen, 1717. Prince Leopold's court offered something rare, freedom from church restrictions. Bach's contract as Kapellmeister granted 300 thalers, a wine allowance, and a copyist. Here, he produced the Brandenburg Concertos and the first book of the Well Tempered Clavier. Council minutes from Cothen record a renewal clause and a bonus for expanding the court orchestra. The music flourished, but family tragedy and shifting court politics would soon push him again. Leipzig, 1723, is preserved in the official protocol. The post promised stability, 600 thalers, housing and tenure until death, but the workload was immense. Weekly cantatas, instruction of 12 choir boys, and oversight of the city's Collegium Musicum. Payroll ledgers show monthly payments for composition, while council minutes document disputes with rival musicians and petitions for better conditions. In Leipzig, the professional demands reached their peak, setting the stage for the pressures and expectations that would define the rest of his life. Each move, Eisenach, Ohrdruf, Arnstadt, Mühlhausen, Weimar, Cothen, Leipzig, is marked in surviving contracts, council resolutions, and payroll records. The path is mapped not only in music, but in official documents that record a restless search for the right post, the right patron, the right conditions to create. Yet with each step, new questions emerge. How did Bach balance relentless work with family responsibilities? What did these postings cost him, and what did they allow him to achieve? In the Bach household, music was only part of the daily noise. Marriage to Maria Barbara in 1707 brought not just a partner, but a growing family. Their first son, Wilhelm Friedmann, arrived in the summer of 1710, followed by Carl Philipp Emanuel in 1714. Over the years, parish registers recorded the births of nearly 20 children, some lines inked in, others crossed out too soon. The family table was crowded, but loss was constant. In July 1720, while Bach was away in Karlsbad with Prince Leopold's court, Maria Barbara died suddenly. The death certificate cites complications of labour. Bach returned to a house in mourning, forced to balance grief with the demands of his post. Within 15 months, another entry appears, Bach's remarriage to Anna Magdalena Wilke, a professional singer from Cothen. Their partnership was practical and musical. Anna Magdalena managed the household, copied scores, and sang in court performances. Together, they had 13 children, though only a handful survived past infancy. Every baptism, every funeral added to the tally of responsibilities, each one documented in church books, each one shaping the rhythms of Bach's life. Family was only one part of the equation. In Leipzig, the payroll ledgers and council minutes reveal the true scale of Bach's obligations. As cantor of St. Thomas, he was contracted to compose and present a new cantata every Sunday and feast day, 52 weeks a year, adding up to more than 60 major services annually. Over his Leipzig tenure, more than 200 cantatas flowed from his desk, many lost, some surviving only as fragments. The sheer volume is almost mechanical, but the context was anything but routine. Each week brought new texts, new voices to train, and new challenges to solve. Lessons for choir boys, rehearsals for the Collegium Musicum, and disputes with city officials filled any remaining hours. The necrologue, published 4 years after Bach's death, describes a man whose days were consumed by composition, teaching, and family. Payroll records show monthly payments for his musical output, but also deductions for missed rehearsals or disputes with rival musicians. The council's expectations were clear: music for every occasion, discipline in the school, and the smooth running of the city's musical life. The weight of these duties pressed down even as Bach's creative ambitions soared. Behind every fugue and chorale, there was a household to feed, a choir to prepare, and a city to satisfy. The demands of family and work were inseparable from the music itself. How did Bach find the time and the method to create so much, so consistently? The answer lies in the system he built. A compositional toolkit designed to turn relentless pressure into lasting art. But when Bach set pen to paper, one line became a web. Each voice a thread woven so tightly that the design holds even if you flip it upside down. This is counterpoint, the art of combining independent melodies so each one stands on its own, yet together they create something richer than any could alone. In Bach's hands, counterpoint becomes a kind of architectural logic. Take the fugue, the ultimate test of compositional skill in his era. It starts with a subject, a short, memorable motif. Another voice repeats it, but shifted up or down, a move called the answer. As more voices join, each brings its own version of the subject, sometimes shadowing, sometimes running ahead, sometimes flipped backward or stretched out. The result is a musical conversation that never loses track of its argument. Bach's The Art of Fugue, completed in the last year of his life, is a masterclass in this technique. The opening contrapunctus lays out a single theme. Then, like a puzzle, Bach transforms it. Here in inversion, where the melody turns upside down, there in augmentation, where the notes are doubled in length, slowing the theme to half speed. Stretto weaves the subject into itself, voices overlapping so tightly that the theme chases its own tail. Each device, augmentation, inversion, stretto, serves as a tool, not just for complexity, but for clarity. The listener can trace the subject through every twist and turn, even as the music grows denser. This is not just a game of patterns. Bach's method allowed him to fill entire works with a sense of inevitability. Every note seems to follow naturally from the last, yet the possibilities feel endless. In the Well Tempered Clavier, each fugue explores a different key, a different mood, but the rules remain. Subject, answer, counter-subject. Each element returns in disguise, sometimes hidden, sometimes in plain sight. Why did Bach push these forms so far? The answer lies partly in his daily reality. The demands of his Leipzig post, the constant need for new music, forced him to rely on a toolkit that could generate complexity from simple ideas. With subject and answer, he could write for a choir, an organ, a string ensemble, always with the same underlying structure. The system was efficient, but the results were anything but mechanical. The Art of Fugue catalogued as BWV 1080, remained unfinished at Bach's death in 1750. Yet even its fragments reveal a mind obsessed with completeness. Each fugue is a variation on a single idea, transformed again and again, as if Bach was testing how far a theme could travel before it lost its identity. The score offers no instrumentation, only pure lines, as if inviting performers to step inside the machinery and see how it works. Bach's vocabulary, subject, answer, inversion, augmentation, stretto, became the foundation for generations of composers. But in his own time, these were working tools, not abstract theories. They solved real problems: how to write quickly, how to satisfy demanding employers, how to keep music both fresh and familiar. The logic of counterpoint was not just an intellectual exercise, but a way to survive and to create under pressure. What happens when this system meets the full spectrum of musical keys and colours? Bach's next move would push the boundaries even further. The title page of the Well Tempered Clavier, written in Bach's own hand in 1722, makes a bold promise: music for every key, major and minor, playable without retuning. 24 keys, each with its own prelude and fugue, an idea almost unthinkable in his day. At the time, most keyboard instruments locked performers into a handful of familiar keys. Bach's approach, well-tempered tuning, opened every door, letting music move freely from C major to F sharp minor and back again. The manuscript sits today in Berlin's Staatsbibliothek, its faded ink still carrying the challenge: can a single system unlock the full color spectrum of Western music? This freedom was not just a technical feat. It reshaped how composers thought. In the Well Tempered Clavier, Bach uses the circle of fifths as a kind of musical map. Each prelude and fugue steps into a new key, then modulates through distant tonalities, showing off a chain of harmonies that would have sounded impossible on older instruments. The result is a kind of musical laboratory, one that composers after him could not ignore. But not everyone in Leipzig was ready for this revolution. In 1738, as Bach oversaw the completion of the St. Nicholas organ, city council minutes recorded heated negotiations, costs, specifications, and the ever-present question of tuning. No formal dispute over temperament survives in the records, but the builder's contract calls for an instrument usable in all keys. Bach's fingerprints are everywhere, even if the paperwork never spells out the argument. The legend of a council showdown would grow in later centuries, but in reality the change crept in through practical decisions, not public battles. While Bach pushed the boundaries in Leipzig, the seeds he planted took root in Vienna. In 1782, Mozart bought a copy of the Well Tempered Clavier, eager to study its counterpoint. 6 years later, the finale of his Jupiter Symphony explodes with a fugue that stacks 5 themes in a dazzling display, a clear echo of Bach's methods. Mozart's letters mention the German master's counterpoint, a nod to the technical lessons he drew from these pages. Beethoven took the influence even further. His personal copy of the Well Tempered Clavier, now preserved in Bonn, is covered with marginal notes. In 1825 he composed the Grosse Fuge, a monumental work that twists and stretches a single motif through every possible permutation: retrograde, inversion, augmentation. Contemporary critics saw in it the spirit of Bach's mature fugues, but amplified to the breaking point. Beethoven's score notes reveal a deep engagement with Bach's logic, even as he pushed it into new territory. Bach's harmonic palette, made possible by well-tempered tuning, set the rules for everyone who followed. The circle of fifths, the architecture of fugue, the idea that music could move through every key without losing its shape. These became the building blocks for Mozart, Beethoven, and the entire classical tradition. Yet during Bach's own lifetime, this completeness was more practical than celebrated, woven into the daily grind of church service, council meetings, and endless teaching. The legacy, however, would outlast the paperwork, echoing through the hands of every composer who opened the Well Tempered Clavier and saw a map of all that was possible. The Berlin Singakademie fills with the hum of anticipation. Felix Mendelssohn, just 20 years old, stands before a chorus and orchestra, manuscript pages spread across the conductor's stand. Bach's St. Matthew Passion, silent for nearly a century, is about to sound again. The original program leaflet, still preserved in the Berlin State Library, lists Mendelssohn as director and names the 5-part structure. the same architecture Bach built for Good Friday in Leipzig, now revived for a secular crowd in the heart of Berlin. Over 400 listeners packed the hall, a mix of university students, craftsmen, aristocrats and musicians. The subscription ledger records nearly 350 paid seats, with dozens more standing at the back. As the first chorus rises, the audience hears music that had faded from public memory, counterpoint layered with a clarity and force that feels both ancient and startlingly new. The Allgemeine Musikalische Zeitung reports a standing ovation that lasts 5 minutes after the final chorale. The crowd drawn to the rebirth of true sacred sound. Not everyone is comfortable. Letters in the Leipziger Allgemeine Musikalische Zeitung warn that Bach's sacred drama might lose its depth in a concert hall. But the performance sparks a chain reaction. In the weeks that follow, critics call the Passion a monument, and musicians across Germany scramble for copies of the score. The myth of Bach as a forgotten genius begins to take hold. Mendelssohn's revival does not just bring back a single work, it launches a movement. Suddenly, Bach's music is no longer a relic of Lutheran liturgy, but the foundation of a new musical canon. What had been neglected now becomes essential, and the search for Bach's other lost treasures accelerates. A single composer, one lifetime, yet the catalogue reads like a survey of every musical genre available in his age. The evidence is spread across manuscripts, dedications, and the sheer scope of what survives. In 1721, Bach presented the Brandenburg Concertos to Christian Ludwig, Margrave of Brandenburg. The dedication letter, written in Bach's own hand, describes these works as concertos for diverse instruments, 6 concertos, each with a different combination of soloists, strings, winds, harpsichord, each exploring a new texture, a new colour. The original autograph, still preserved in Berlin, is dated March 24, 1721. These concertos do not just fill a gap in the repertoire, they define the possibilities of the Baroque orchestra. 20 years later, Bach turns inward. The Goldberg Variations, completed in 1741, begin with a simple aria. What follows is a labyrinth, 30 variations, each one a new technical challenge, a new emotional register. The manuscript, dedicated to Johann Gottlieb Goldberg, is a masterclass in invention, canons at every interval, fuguettas, French overtures, and hand-crossing keyboard fireworks. The variations move from strict counterpoint to playful dance, from solemnity to exuberance, all while circling back to the aria's opening notes. No other set of keyboard variations from the era matches its range or its structural ambition. Near the end of his life, Bach returns to the largest canvas of all. The Mass in B minor, assembled between 1748 and 1749, gathers music written over decades, Kyrie, Gloria, Sanctus, Agnus Dei, into a single monumental setting. The autograph score, signed in Leipzig, weaves together styles from Renaissance polyphony to the latest galant idioms. The Mass is not just a liturgical work, it is a portfolio, a summary of everything Bach knew about sacred music. Orchestral suites, solo sonatas, cantatas for every Sunday, passions that stretch into hours, the list continues. Each genre, each form, receives the same architectural care. Manuscript dates and dedications confirm the timeline: the Brandenburg Concertos in 1721, the Goldberg in 1741, the Mass in B minor in 1748 and 1749. The catalogue is not a random accumulation, but a deliberate proof. Every form, every technique, every possibility tested and preserved. This is what completeness looks like, not in theory, but in surviving ink and paper. Today, every conservatory still traces its roots through Bach's structures. Counterpoint textbooks, harmony exercises, and concert halls echo with his patterns. As artificial intelligence now composes fugues and algorithms analyze scores, Bach's completeness becomes the benchmark technology strives to match. His music isn't just history, it's the blueprint for creation itself. The question now, can anyone or anything ever surpass the standard he set? Share your thoughts below.